10 years from now, I can't even imagine what mixing audio is going to feel like.
At least from a worship leader standpoint, the last thing I would ever want is me being on stage and someone, a guest, scanning the stage go, oh.
If your motto is, I'm not happy till you're not happy, then that's the problem.
Yeah. If your hands are closed, in my opinion, you are slowly disqualifying yourself. So the ability as you get older to become less coachable is a bigger issue.
We had a conversation a couple weeks ago about how, I think it was titled, maybe Hayden correct me, it was titled How Young is Too Young.
Oh, yeah.
Was that what it was?
Yeah, something like
Depends
that.
what state you're in.
Welcome, Jeff, back to the show. Glad to have you.
How Young is Too Young, I think is what the episode ultimately we were talking about. We were talking about the tension of being in ministry as a worship pastor and being too young for the task, just not having enough experience. I know you've got a lot of thoughts about that. But we didn't feel good about talking about how old is too old, because
So that's why you brought me here?
No, we did say, I think we gave you a shout out where I was like, we should bring Jeff, not because he's old, but because he is older than us.
Yes.
So we want to talk about, I think we should talk about this tension, because we got into some good stuff, but then we were like, we don't have enough wisdom to be talking about some of this. We don't have enough experience to be talking about this.
When you say wisdom,
Yeah.
you're talking about like age specifically? Like we don't have enough age to be talking about this?
Yeah, we just haven't seen enough. We haven't seen enough. And we haven't, I was thinking, Chris Tomlin came up a lot on that episode. I'm like, well, Jeff literally would have spent decades with Chris Tomlin. It'd be really interesting to get your perspective talking. We kind of go around on this idea of when is it time, and I'm going to put this very plainly, when is it time for folks to start thinking about putting in the towel and letting the next generation come in? Or are we actually, is that a pretty silly question, and are we undermining the value of having age and wisdom on the platform and in the tech booth? Right?
Yeah,
The idea came from because we had some stories. The context behind this is that we had stories where we've known individuals who are younger, ages 12 to 15, who are oddly enough mature enough to sit at a machine and perform a task well enough to be in that role, and they were oddly enough mature enough at that age to receive coaching.
Yeah.
And get better.
Yeah.
But there was this, my opinion, there was this wave of leaders that were a generation ahead of us that were, just for whatever reason, because of your age, you cannot serve. And that's been a thing in worship ministries, still is today. And so that's kind of what the podcast is about. And then, so bring clarity or bring context to that.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah. Teach us, Jeff.
I don't know that the first example that comes to my mind is Corey Edwards. I met Corey when he was 14, and he was hungry, brilliant, like a sponge, asked thoughtful questions, was super curious, wasn't haughty or proud about his ability, even though he was able to do a lot of things, but he was seeking out good advice and show me what you're doing. How can I learn from this? Wow, that sounds awesome. How can I make that apply to what I want to do? That kind of thing. I think there is plenty of space for young people who are approaching it with that kind of attitude versus somebody who's just talented playing video games and knows how to push buttons and can make stuff work. There's a difference to me, especially in worship ministry, of somebody who can just operate a piece of gear versus somebody who actually wants to be a leader and wants to figure out the why behind the flow of an event or a service, why transitions matter, how things feel. That to me is somebody who has potential for the long term to actually lead the thing. If it's just somebody who can execute a task, that to me is okay, dime a dozen in this day and age, and probably soon to be replaced by AI anyway. So why not? I think those of us who are older need to seek out and encourage and sort of find those diamonds in the rough. And I think that, to me, the biggest indicator of that is curiosity and somebody who's willing to ask good questions and, really seeking wisdom, not just seeking knowledge, but seeking wisdom. Now, talk about Chris Tomlin, back in the day, some of the first tours that Chris Tomlin did were opening for Stephen Curtis Chapman, opening for...
How much younger is Chris than like Stephen Curtis Chapman?
So Stephen Curtis Chapman is he's probably 10 years older than Chris.
Because I put them in the same age category. Are they not in the same?
They're not in the same age category because, like, Stephen Curtis Chapman was at his sort of crest in terms of, I would say, popularity and, record sales and that kind of stuff, probably a decade before Chris was. Mm-hmm. And I think that has to do with their age difference to some degree. But then when Chris was at his crest, opening for him was Ren Collective and more recently Pat Barrett and, people who were up and coming into their own.
Yeah.
And so, Pat, for example, is headlining his first kind of big tour this fall. It's like Pat is now kind of out there this tour with Brandon Lake.
Yeah.
Who is for the first time headlining arenas.
Yeah.
I saw Brandon last week and he sold out a 10,000 seat arena. That was not a thing 5, 6, 7 years ago for Brandon, when he was trying to be like Need to Breathe or trying to be like whoever. It's like there's always the next thing that's coming. I think the ones who do it well are the ones who are willing to sit at the feet of those who are older and learn and figure out. Like for a worship leader to be, quote, under somebody like Chris Tomlin, who can lead a crowd of people better than any of us have ever seen. It's like, he writes songs so intentionally to give the church a voice to worship. Like for somebody who's truly interested in that, to sit under his tutelage is a phenomenal thing. Not because of his great singing, because he's not the best singer. Not because of his great playing, because he's not the best guitar player. But in terms of leading people, it's like, man, there's an aspect of his leadership that if you're smart and curious and want to gain anything at all, you would be foolish not to glean whatever you could from a guy like that.
Yeah.
And I think he did that from Stephen. He did that from Michael W. Smith. He did that from other people in that era that was before him. And so he's at the point now where he can pour into, like, that's why he's an artist in residence at Highlands College, because he wants to take these 18, 19, 20-year-old kids and teach them what it means to lead people, to be a songwriter, to be an effective pastor, those kinds of things. It's like, and I think somebody like him, he's able to see, okay, not that my time is done, but he's got young kids. He doesn't want to be on a tour bus forever. He's now in his 50s. It's like there is a time when you age out, and that's okay. I've had to deal with that. It's like, I'm not pursuing touring anymore because it's a young man's game. So how do I kind of pour into the people who are coming behind me in a way that leaves a legacy, in a way that helps me kind of solidify what I do have to bring to the table still. I can still mix. I still love mixing, but I'm not going to chase it because I've kind of done that in a way, and I'm okay. It's a journey though. I've had to become okay with letting some of that go.
Yeah. Can we talk about, because it's some really interesting points there on the like artistry side. When we talk about the church, I feel, maybe you guys would disagree, but I feel like we are deplatforming people too soon based on age. like especially on the worship side. It's so interesting that like the average age of a senior pastor in America is like, I think it's still like 50 something. Like it's pretty, that's not all that old, but like the average age of a worship leader we see is like mid 30s.
Yeah.
Why is it that people, maybe deplatformed is not the right term, but like why are we deplatforming people because of their age?
It's a great question. I think it's a problem.
It could be because leaders are having a hard time having conversations with that individual, and the easy out is age. It's not because you're not a great leader anymore, or you've lost the ability to sing, or you aren't showing an effort to keep up with your team around you. You are now standing out. Like the last thing you'd want, at least from a worship leader standpoint, the last thing I would ever want is me being on stage and someone, a guest, scanning the stage, go, "Oh, that guy doesn't look like he should be up there." Whether it be because of talent, age, the ability to lead. Like, why would you want to stick out? So so breaking down what you said, the questions I would have is, what we're not hearing young people say is, I've been doing this long enough to know better. I'm not going to listen to a younger person because I've been doing this longer than you've been around. I can't tell you how many times as leader I've heard that in the church space from someone older than me. I mean, probably a dozen times or more. Well, I've been doing this.
Just spoiler alert, Dylan has old leader hurt. So
I've been doing this longer than you have. Why would you not listen to me? And it's like, well, I understand the wisdom and knowledge behind that, but I'm just bringing a different, younger perspective.
Yeah.
But my point is, I've never heard someone younger say that. I've only heard the older generation say that. So the ability as you get older to become less coachable is a bigger issue than just aging out. But it's really easy for me as a leader to go up to that person and say, "Hey, you've aged out. You're no longer around," because I'm not going to try to coach you because you will not take that very well.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the idea that somebody should be pushed to the side or deplatformed because they don't look cool enough anymore is a big problem for me.
Yeah.
Like, I think there is something to be said for the experience and the wisdom that comes from just those years of doing it every week. Like, we talk about the need for technical folks to have a certain number of reps in order to be, to take the transition from, okay, I'm competent, to, okay, I own this. I have muscle memory. I can anticipate. I can, you can throw anything at me and I'll react properly because I've just been there, done that. Like, somebody behind a microphone has more experience with leading transitional moments and leading a prayer time, truly providing ministry. It's like, for them to just be set aside because they don't look a certain way anymore, that's dangerous to me.
Yeah, and I'm not at all saying wardrobe. I'm not talking about wardrobe at all. When I mean scan the stage, I'm saying this individual is sticking out because they are not as talented. They're lacking leadership. They're lacking all the things that a younger person would lack. The easy out is, well, that's because they're old.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
It's because they're old. So as an older person, yes, you may carry more experience, you may be more wise, you may have the knowledge. But if you have stopped, because I've been doing this long enough and I know the way to do it, if you've stopped pursuing your craft, if you've stopped trying to get better, the younger generation will surpass you and you will stand out. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But I think that's just a call. That's a call to somebody like me to continue to learn and continue to be curious and continue to get better. I mean, I don't think that should ever stop.
Right.
Like, I get better every time I stand behind a console, and that's because I'm trying to avoid the trap of just standing there saying, well, the older I get, the better I was. It's like, no, I don't want that. I want to go, the older I get, the better I get.
Jeff, would you be so vulnerable to share the last time that there was something, because you've been doing what you do for a while, the last time there was a new way of doing something that you were pretty hesitant to even want to know more about? It's intimidating. You were like, that's going to mean I have to get better.
I mean, you're like the face of LV1 right now.
Yeah.
You've kind of proven that theory to be wrong.
Yeah, but I do think like there is some that like for sure over the course of the last 5, 6, 7 years, there has been like an internal resistance on my part to learn more about networking, to learn more about Dante, to learn more about that kind of. It's like I'll leave that to the guys who are experts on the computer side. Just tell me how to patch it, and I'll do it. I'm not like I have resisted learning how to design a robust system because I just feel like, man, I just that that's just not what I wanted. Like, let me build a mix. Yeah. I'll let you build the infrastructure. Let me and to my detriment, I think.
But that's wise.
But I think, see, I asked you that question because I know you're honest enough with yourself. We all are going to experience that. Like,
there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
that's pretty wise.
But I do think like what you just expressed is how I'm sure many older worship leaders feel about track implementation. Like, I do think that's what worship leaders who we would categorize as aging out might feel with the intimidation around playback implementation, new gear coming to the market, new song arrangements. They're like, so I do think that's part of the issue we're seeing in worship ministry is it is like a rapidly moving target, it seems, like with CCM and that influence on the church. I mean, How Great Is Our God is a much different song than Hard Fought Hallelujah. I mean, Hard Fought, that's not a good example. We're not really singing that one in church, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Just stylistically, things are changing. So that could be part of it.
But I want to just highlight a significant thing that he brought up, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying older leaders lack this. I could see me lacking this as I get older. So I'm just calling it out. So if an older person's listening to this, something that I want to highlight that you said that stuck out to me very well was very clear is you have the self-awareness to know what are your lanes and what are you good at. And you said, I'm going to let the other guys be the systems techs, the SEs, figure out the software, figure out the computers, figure out the integration, figure out how it works.
Yeah.
Up to patch, I'll take it from there. As an older leader, based on my experience, that wasn't my case. It was I'm in all lanes because I'm the designated leader of this. This is how I do things. And so there was no lanes because that person was in all lanes, and it was exactly how I want to do it, when I want to do it, and what I want to do. You have all these younger leaders around going, that's okay. You are the leader at the end of the day, but allow us to speak into areas that we might be good in, that you might not be.
I think what you're saying, though, is honestly just a symptom of poor leadership, regardless of age. Because, like, good leadership is bringing in people to strengthen the areas of where you are weak.
I agree with that.
But you think
do we see that in older age?
Well, I think part of it is like 40 years ago, there was an epidemic of like the church sound guy who was stiff arm, building stanchions around their skill. I'm the guy who knows how to do this. Nobody else knows how all these buttons work. Nobody else knows what this does. I have figured this out. This is my area, my sandbox. You're not allowed to play.
Yeah. That lives on today, by the way, I think.
but I think it was worse.
Yeah.
It was worse a generation ago, in a lot of ways. And some of those guys got leapfrogged by technology and got bypassed because they thought this stuff was going to be here to stay, and it wasn't. And they were unwilling to adapt and adopt and, be open-handed and bring other people in. But, the people who, from that era, who were more open-handed, who were generous with their knowledge, who said, hey, kind of like, hopefully the way I've tried to be is like, I didn't invent any of this. Anything I know is rented from somebody else. So I want to be able to go to somebody like Corey when he was a teenager and go, man, I'll show you exactly what I'm doing because none of this is a secret. Physics is not only a good idea, it's the law. And so if we apply these principles, we can build an effective mix in a lot of different ways, but this is the core principle I'm thinking about, or whatever the case may be. And then the other side of it is there is technology that's ever changing, that's engaging, like LV1, that I've embraced, that I love. Like, I think the LV1 platform, to me, is the most impactful, best sounding, most flexible, most expandable thing that I've seen in a long time. And so, yeah, I love talking about it. I love using it. I want other people to engage with it. And just Waves, as an example, as they continue to innovate with tools like AI-based plugins, 10 years from now, I can't even imagine what mixing audio is going to feel like or be like as an engineer, but it's going to be great. And if we're not ready for that, if we're not embracing it, if we're not leaning into it, then we're going to miss it.
If you want Jeff's 50% off affiliate code, you'll put it in the description below our Waves, by the way. No, I think you're totally right, though. And I think that it's interesting hearing you talk about kind of that old guard. Maybe those are the ones in the comments on YouTube that are like, get this digital crap out of here. They're like, we get so many like, keyboard warriors, especially when we do like technical training and stuff.
Yeah.
Back in my day.
And we just did a show where an older A1 showed up and brought in his analog console, and it took 12 hours to load that thing in and get it plugged in and set up. And
I'm sure the pre sounded awesome.
The stereotype was real in this moment, and he was just an angry old dog, man. He was angry. So if you still mix on analogs, you're probably
there's nothing wrong.
You're probably angry.
No, there's nothing wrong with analog. Like it sounds great. There's a place for it, but if your motto is "I'm not happy till you're not happy," then that's the problem.
Yeah,
it's like it's an attitude. It's
character.
It's a mindset.
Lack of
it's
leadership.
character. It's leadership. It all comes down to leadership.
Yeah.
And young people need to understand that leadership is not just about positional authority. Leadership is about influence. And so for a young person, like, the best way to gain influence, the best way to leverage influence is through what the best leader ever did, what Jesus did, is he leveraged his influence through humility. And if you can be humbly curious, ask good questions, be attentive, work hard, like head down, all those things. Like, I would take somebody on a crew who doesn't know everything, who's a hard worker and is humble, than somebody who knows a lot, who's a jerk, any day. We all would, of course. And we all know that. But, to the young person who has that knowledge, to just come in and try to kind of worm their way in based on that knowledge, it's like, man, just be careful that your attitude is one of, more of a curious, humble, servant-based deal, because that'll get you a lot further.
Yeah. I think it goes for the older folks too, as well. I think that's what I hear you saying.
Yep, I was
For
screaming
sure.
that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Literally screaming.
Can you hear me?
Probably not.
Yeah. It's a personal, personal thing that I've just been thinking about a lot. Just that, I'd like to see older folks stick around longer.
Yeah.
It's just too often do I see somebody turn 40 who's been a worship leader for 15 years. Now they're a real estate agent.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, oh, I'm old.
Is that them, or is that their leadership, though?
Yeah, is that a 40-year-old going, I don't know
who it is. I'm just
aged
saying
out,
it's my desire
or I'm just
to
so
see.
done with, and I just want to move on to other things.
So this is a little bit of a different angle, but I was a part of a church for years that had this kind of generational crisis where some of the original worship leaders that started the church were shoved to the side, moved to the B room, moved to a different campus because they weren't the bright, shiny new toy. Some new kid came in who had an incredible voice, who had been on The Voice, who had done certain things or whatever, and they got the platform. 5, 6, 7 years later, the church realized, you know what? There's a lot to be said for what those older guys brought to the table.
Took them that long to figure that out?
Well,
5 to 7 years. That's almost a decade.
I'm just saying, it goes like that. I mean, it's... But now they're... Because what they realized is that not only can they still sing, but in terms of songwriting and the depth of a lyric and the things that you just don't learn overnight, especially in this day and age, because every single worship song is exactly the same. It's like, let's get somebody who actually knows how to write a song. Oh, wait a minute. There's poetry there. There's harmony there. There's meaning there that we're not going to just copy paste what we hear in every other worship song. We're going to actually innovate a little bit because of this person's experience as a songwriter. It's like, that's the kind of lessons that I hope the church can learn, because my age cohort and older still has a lot to offer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree.
If you go on just any average church website, which I go on a lot of church websites where people sign up for MXU and learn more about their church, and you just scroll through their, meet the team page or whatever. Usually, the youngest folks on that page are going to be in technical ministry, youth ministry, worship ministry. But even like youth ministry, it's not always, because probably not good to have like a
20-year-old leading 18-year-olds.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it almost like notoriously, and this is just subjective based on what I see, that they're more often than not the youngest leaders in the church in the worship and tech ministry. I also find it, and please tell me if you guys have seen this different, but I find that the worship and tech ministry tends to be the most siloed ministry in the church of dysfunction, arrogance, and maybe lacking wisdom. Is that too harsh to say?
No, I wouldn't think so. I think, again, though, it comes down to...
Well, sorry, I just want to make the point that part of that, I think, is because we don't have age and wisdom in the worship and technical ministries. So I think that's the reason I'm saying that. It's like,
Do you think there's less accountability as well? Like because I think sometimes, depending on the church, sometimes you have these people who understand these particular skills, and their executive leaders don't have that same knowledge.
Yeah.
So they're just like, you guys know how all this stuff works. You know how to do this, so you just go and do your thing.
Yep.
And then over time, there becomes a little bit less check-ins, a little less larger team meetings, a little less accountability, and then they're just allowed to silo themselves. They're allowed to fester. They're allowed to develop a culture that is less healthy.
Yeah, the ministries I see struggling the most are the ones where, their oversight knows nothing about worship in tech production. They don't know it, and they're just like, well, we're screwed if we don't have that next weekend, so we'll let you do whatever you need to do. And there's even kind of a rise, we don't even get into the rise of like entitlement in our community, but people are like, I should be able to do whatever I want to do. That's how you're going to keep me, because I'm skilled and talented, right? It's like, that wouldn't be a thing if there was a older, wise person leading that ministry who had their prefrontal cortex and some integrity, wisdom, humility to be able to hold that ministry accountable.
Yeah. And some experience to see what happens when it's done wrong.
It's always the older executive pastor who knows nothing about worship and tech ministry that is dealt with having to wrangle us goons. It seems. Go ahead, Dillan.
I think
this is his face he makes when he strongly disagrees with me.
No, I don't disagree with that. I think the pastor knows what they see and hear on Sunday. They judge the team's health based on what they are seeing and hearing on Sunday, which we know that's not accurate. That shouldn't be done. So in their eyes, that team is doing well.
Yeah.
The data is there. People are coming to weekends, and it feels good.
If it ain't broke, don't
But
fix it.
groups, ministry, numbers are not where they need to be. So I got to put more gas on that. Student ministry, why are students not coming on Wednesdays? Like, I put more gas on that. Why is giving not where it needs to be? I need to put gas on that. Why are salvations and baptisms not where they need to be? Well, because our first impressions teams are dropping the ball with making sure they collect communications cards and follow up. That's where pastors typically land their spot. Worship and production naturally segregates because we evaluate that process and those teams based on what we hear and see on Sundays. I think that speaks into a little bit, at least my opinion, why there's that natural segregation. I don't know if just adding an older person is going to fix that. That's where I was kind of like, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I don't agree with you. I'm not in the middle. I'm like, yes, adding someone that is a little bit wiser, has a little bit more maturity, yes, could potentially fix that. But they're still going to be naturally segregated because they're winning in their leaders' eyes, something likely. That's my thought on that.
Yeah, and adding, man, what if we didn't have to add old people, but what if we kept the people who became old?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I think there's more to it, though, than that, because I don't think, like with Jeff, I don't think people of age are leaving just because of their age. I think my opinion does not reflect MXU's stance on this. My opinion is the older you get, the more fed up you get with what you've been dealing with for decades at a time in ministry. And then they have that one dinner with that one real estate agent who says, hey, I work 15 hours a week and make $200,000 a year. Or, hey, I started a business a year ago, and yes, it was stressful the first year, or 2 years ago, stressful first year, but today I have more freedom I've ever had, make more money I've ever had. And the older and wiser you get, you go, I'm done with ministry. And that's what I think there's more of that than just people leaving because they're old.
Yeah.
I think people are realizing, hey, I've been doing this way for so many years. I'm just tired. I don't have the leadership I should get. I'm not in the community I should be in. I've lost sight of real ministry and what it should be about.
I think you're
right.
I'm
moving on.
And you tend to do this a lot, and I like that you do it. Sometimes it's frustrating to me because this always comes back to a highest level leadership issue. It's an issue with senior leadership and the culture within this church, which some of that we just can't control, right? Like we have some senior leaders listening to this podcast, but most of the listeners are worship and tech leaders. And so people hear that, they hear you say that and they're like, I totally get it. So I should be done. Like
you should have conversations.
Yeah.
You should start.
I want to know how I can make $200,000 working 15 hours a week.
I know, it sounds awesome.
I can meet you.
Oh, well, apparently that's actually becoming like the new normal for worship and tech ministry people. You shouldn't take a job at a church unless that's the offer. But all that to say, I think all that to say, I do, we've been talking a lot about, we haven't necessarily answered the question, how old is too old to be serving? I don't think there is an age.
I don't either.
I really don't.
No.
I know there's some of you out there that might think there is, but
young or old, if you have a closed fist, I learned this from Joe Wilhite when I served in his leadership. If you, young or old, if you have a closed-fisted receiving of an idea of ministry, like your hands are not open to anything, whether you're 14, 15, 18, 19, in their 50s, if your hands are closed, in my opinion, you are slowly disqualifying yourself to be in any position that you may be in any industry.
And sometimes not slowly, sometimes quickly disqualifying
and I think as long as you have that open-handed, hey, I'm here to receive, I'm here to learn, doesn't matter how long I've been doing ministry, doesn't matter how long I've been running camera, doesn't matter how long, when that new guy comes in, that new girl comes in, they will have something to offer you. It may be small, it may be large, but just have the open hand and go, hey, speak to me today, teach me something new. And I think that's what keeps you on the team.
Yeah.
I don't think it has anything to do with the number.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. It's really good. Lots more there to unpack. We'll save for another day. If you made it this far, thank you for joining us and sticking with us here. Hopefully it's been encouraging, helpful to you. If you don't know about MXU, we're a platform for worship and tech teams specifically built to help you develop your volunteers, plan your services, execute weekends. We've got a ton of tools in there to help you train your team, schedule your team, execute Sunday with a dashboard visualization of all the tools you're currently using. It's pretty neat. We're really passionate about it. If you want to check out MXU or learn more about it, you can go to the link in the description below. Thanks again for joining us on the podcast. We'll see you next time.